Hi. So, for one of my classes, I've been reading this class called Comparative Religion for Dummies. It compares Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And as I was reading it yesterday, I came across a very certain claim. So, it's talking about overlaps in the Bible or telling the same story twice. And listen to what it says here. Because a later editor didn't know which tales were correct, historians believe he kept all versions. Many explanations have arisen to address the discrepancies. For example, Jewish sages argue that the second creation story, Genesis 2:7-22, merely amplifies the first, Genesis 1:27. However, the texts clearly are different and don't agree. For example, man and woman in chapter 1 are created at the same time. In Genesis 2, man, Adam, is created first from dirt, and then woman, Eve, is created from man's rib. So, I know a lot of people say the Bible contradicts itself, just doesn't sync up, it's inconsistent, and I mean, yeah, I get that that's how it looks at face value, but let's see what it really says in Genesis 1 here. My computer will move fast enough. Alright, so here it says, So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. So, let me ask you this. Does it say he created them at the same time? No. I mean, imagine I told you I was talking to my friends Brian and Jeff, and then all of a sudden Brian came up to me and said, "Hey, how was your conversation with Jeff?" Would you say, "You're a liar"? No. I'd tell you, "Oh yeah, I saw Brian and then I saw Jeff." I mean, I probably wouldn't even have to tell you that because you'd probably be able to put the pieces together yourself. So I mean, yeah, in Genesis 2, it does say that man was created first and then woman was created from him. But in here, in Genesis 1, it doesn't say man and woman were created at the same time. It's just more specific in Genesis 2. I mean, it's like you have to be looking for contradictions to see this one here. And ultimately, I think that's what's going on. People are so unwilling to believe the Bible that they'll look for any opportunity to see a contradiction. I know in other places where it looks like it contradicts itself, part of it's narrative, part of it's a poem, and when you're talking about history, you don't talk in the same way you would in a poem. I mean, come on. Another famous example is when Jesus says, "Love your neighbor as yourself, honor your mother and father." But then look at what he says here in Luke 14. Alright, he says, "If anyone comes after me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." So you might ask, how can you hate someone and love someone at the same time? He tells us to hate his enemies, right? Or to love his enemies, right? And here he's saying, hate even your closest relationships. And I think another passage might help make it more clear. Alright, Matthew 22:34-40. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" And he said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." on these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. Alright, so when he's describing love for God, and then he says the law about loving others is second, is this a priority list? No, when he's describing love for God, he says love him top to bottom. All your love for others is out of your love for God. It's going to look like hate, because they're going to hate you for your faith, and you're going to have to be willing to take it. It should never compromise your faith. Never. But at the same time, you continue to love them, even though they hate you. Don't compromise your faith. Never compromise your love for them either. Pray for those who persecute you. Let's think of one more example. So the Bible says, the righteous shall live by faith, and in faith alone are you saved. And then in James it says, James 2:17 it says, faith without good works is dead. So isn't that a contradiction right there? Well, we have to keep in mind it says the righteous shall live by faith. Not just have it, but live by it, die by it. Faith is not a result of works, but works are a result of faith. You see where I'm going with this? I don't have the answer to every contradiction or apparent contradiction, but we can trust that they're there. If we're looking for contradictions, then of course we're going to see them, and that's kind of the problem, because when we're not saved, we're going to be looking for reasons not to believe in it, reasons to justify not believing in it. It's a way to reduce our dissonance. You're letting your bias do the thinking for you. Just something to think about.